Hello everyone. Let me ask you a question. When life feels hard, do you see it as a sign to stop, or could it be the very reason you still have a chance? Stay with me. This story is a slow one, and it might just change the way you look at difficulty. Evan was tired, not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep could fix. It was a quiet kind, the kind that sits heavy in your chest. He looked at his life and felt one thing with absolute clarity. Everything is hard. His work was hard. Learning new things was hard. Starting something from scratch felt impossible. Everywhere he looked, he saw people who seemed miles ahead, more skilled, more confident, more successful. And slowly, a thought began to grow in his mind. Maybe this isn't for me. When things get hard, the mind naturally looks for an exit. It whispers excuses. It tells you stories. This shouldn't be this difficult. If it's this hard, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I chose the wrong path. Evan believed those thoughts. He saw difficulty as rejection, and he noticed something strange. Every time something became difficult, his first instinct wasn't to learn, it was to leave. When a task took too long, he felt uncomfortable. When his progress slowed down, his mind desperately searched for shortcuts. And when there were no shortcuts, he questioned himself. Why does this feel so heavy? Why does everyone else seem to move faster? Why do I feel so stuck? He told himself that familiar story. If it's this hard, maybe I'm not meant for it. That thought felt comforting. It gave him permission to stop trying, to step back, to lower his expectations, and to choose something easier. For a moment, he almost believed that was wisdom. But deep down, something didn't sit right, because every path he had walked away from led him to the exact same place. Nothing ever changed. The difficulty just moved somewhere else. Evan didn't quit that night, but he didn't move forward either. He just sat there, feeling the same weight, the same tiredness, the same suffocating doubt, and then he realized something profound. Every time he walked away from something hard, life didn't become easier. The struggle just changed its shape. A different job, but the same pressure. A different goal, but the same fear. A different place, but the same empty feeling. That scared him, because it meant the problem wasn't the path. It was his reaction to difficulty. A quiet question stayed with him. If everything feels hard, what am I running from? He thought about all the times he stopped. Not because he failed, but because it was uncomfortable. The slow progress, the small results, the lack of praise, that was usually the moment he left. Not when it was impossible, just when it stopped feeling exciting. For the first time, Evan saw difficulty differently. Maybe hard wasn't a warning sign. Maybe hard was the test. And maybe the reason he still felt so lost was because he had never stayed long enough to see what was on the other side. The next day, nothing changed. The work was still hard. The progress was still slow. Evan felt that same powerful urge to escape, to check his phone, to delay the task, to tell himself, I'll do it later. But Tisitami just noticed the feeling. The tightness in his chest, the restless mind, the quiet voice saying, this is too much. He didn't fight it. He didn't try to feel strong. He simply stayed. 5 more minutes. Then another 5. No motivation, no excitement, just presence. And then something small happened. The fear didn't grow. It softened. The difficulty didn't disappear, but it stopped feeling so dangerous. Evan realized something important. The hardest part wasn't the work itself. It was staying without running away. And for the first time, he felt a strange calm. Not because things were easy, but because he was still there. Evan began to notice something new. Around him, people were leaving. Not all at once. Quietly, a coworker stopped trying. A friend changed their direction. Someone else said, this just isn't for me. They all had their reasons. It's too hard. It takes too long. I don't see results, and Evan understood them completely. He had felt the exact same way, but this time he stayed. And slowly, space began to appear. There was less noise, less competition. Not because Evan was better, but because others chose to go. That's when it became crystal clear. The difficulty wasn't blocking the path, it was clearing it. Every challenge was asking the same quiet question. Who is willing to remain? Evan finally saw the truth. Because it was hard, there was still room. Because it was uncomfortable, there was still a place for him. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel late anymore. It felt early. Evan used to think life was unfair. Some people seemed lucky. Some started earlier. Some had health. But now, he saw another side to it. Hard things don't care where you come from. They don't ask who your parents are. They don't ask how much money you have. They only ask one thing. Can you stay? Stay when it's boring. Stay when no one is watching. Stay when progress feels completely invisible. Many people couldn't. Not because they were weak, but because staying is painful. And that pain was the price of admission. Evan understood something important. Hard things reward endurance, not background. Time becomes an equalizer when difficulty stays the same. Anyone who remains long enough earns the right to move forward. For the first time, life felt fair to him. Not easy, but fair. One quiet morning, Evan noticed something different. The fear was still there. The work was still hard, but the panic was gone. He no longer asked himself, "Am I good enough?" He asked a softer question. "Can I stay one more day?" That question changed everything, because success no longer felt so far away. It felt nearby, not in the results, but in its direction. Evan understood this. The next person who succeeds is rarely the smartest. It's usually the one who stayed when others left. No announcement, no applause, just quiet, relentless consistency. And for the first time, Evan allowed himself to believe. Maybe the reason this path felt so hard wasn't to stop him. Maybe it was to save a place for someone just like him. Someone willing to stay. After that realization, Evan stopped fighting the struggle. He stopped asking it to leave. Instead, he began to look at it differently. He stopped asking, "Why is this so hard?" and started asking, "What is this difficulty protecting?" Every challenge became a gate, not a wall. A gate that opened slowly, only for those who kept knocking. Evan didn't become faster. He didn't become special. He simply stopped leaving. Days passed, and then weeks. Some days felt heavy. Some days felt empty. But something changed quietly. There were fewer people around him now. Not because he had won, but because others had given up. And without even noticing, Evan had gained an advantage. Time. Time to learn. Time to improve. Time to make mistakes without pressure. He realized this simple truth. When something is hard, it doesn't move fast. It waits. And the ones who stay eventually stand alone. Not in pride, but in patience. Evan smiled to himself. He finally understood. Because it was hard, he still had a place. And that place was enough. Life never promises ease, but it offers something better. A chance. And that chance exists because not everyone can handle difficulty. If it feels hard, it may not be a sign to stop. It may be proof that the door is still open. So, when life feels heavy, don't ask why it isn't easier. Smile a little. Because if it were easy, you might not have a place at all. Difficulty isn't punishment. It's the reason you still have a turn, and that is something worth staying for. Before you'll go, leave a comment below. What is one hard thing you are still staying with right now? You're not alone. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.